All right, people, welcome to the RedBus uh, introduction video. This is a little bit, more ghetto than I was hoping for. To be honest, I'm just doing the video on my cell phone because I don't have the camera set up. I ran out of time, and I promised y'all a video, so I figured let's get this bad boy going. A little bit of backstory that I want to share in terms of where this idea came from for the RedBus. Let me start off first by explaining what this bus is. It's a 1978 VW bus, Westphalia. So it's a camper bus. It sleeps 5. Haven't slept in it comfortably yet. I think we're planning on going camping in a couple weeks. Don't mind that I'm sweating bullets. It is currently, like 90 degrees outside, and I don't have a fan in the bus. Note to self, put that on the checklist of items to purchase before I start doing actual podcast episodes, because I don't need guests in here sweating bullets, right? Anyways, it's a Westphalia bus. I bought it because it was a birth year vehicle, so it's the year I was born. Not a lot of cool vehicles in 1978, to be perfectly honest. So this turned out to be something cool. Addie has always dreamt of having a VW bus. So I made the purchase, and I decided, why not do a little pet project that I've had in mind for a couple of years now and use the bus to do it. So the idea came to life to do the RedBus podcast. And I'll give you a little story about how I came about with the idea for the topic of the podcast. Years ago, our sister-in-law was coming to visit from Chicago out here in Salt Lake. And she was getting ready to come out. She hadn't been out before, and we were talking to her, and I made a jokingly said to her, hey, just be aware that when you come out to Salt Lake, you might be the only black person you see. Like, totally joking, off the cuff. She looked at me and said, no way. There's no way. Because she's grown up in Chicago. So she's used to, a better mix of racial mix and ethnicity mix. And so when she came out here, her mind was blown, like just blown away at the fact that what I had mentioned was actually accurate. Salt Lake has become a lot more diverse over the last couple of years. A lot of people moving in from California. So it's becoming more diverse. But at the time, it was pretty just, your average white Mormon person. And that started making me think, like, it's pretty interesting when you think about society as a whole, people's experience, people's ideas of what life is like, and how they get those ideas and where they base those ideas off of. I think there's a lot of misconception in people's minds that the way that they see the world is the correct and right way of seeing the world, and that other people's views that might be differing or completely opposite of what they think are just downright wrong. When I think in reality, it's a lot deeper than that. I think there are a lot of things that play into people's perspectives. And I think there's a lot of life experience that plays into what makes somebody feel and think and see the world the way they see the world. Man, I am dripping. It is nice and toasty in here. But, I mean, this episode is just going to be hot. So don't get it twisted. Anyways, so I had initially thought about writing a book about, people's bubbles. Like, everybody lives in their own bubble. They see the world from their own perspective. They see what the way that the world functions and the way that they see it on a day-to-day basis. And that is really laser focused on kind of what they see on their day-to-day, right? And if you can expand people's bubbles or pop their bubbles and allow them to understand and see things from different perspectives, from other people's perspectives, I think that will create a society that's a little bit more kind, a little bit more understanding, willing to discuss things, and just in general, be more kind and loving to one another. And after thinking about doing the book, I just thought, I can't write a book. There's no way I can write a book. But a podcast I could do. I could do a podcast. I don't like the way I sound in audio, but I'll get over it. I don't really like the way I look in video, but I'll get over it. The reality is that I see this as a big deal, and I think a lot of people could benefit from the idea of seeing life from other people's perspectives. And so the idea is for me to drive around. Initially, I'll be just driving around here in Salt Lake somewhere and rolling up parking lot somewhere or whatever where people are around and inviting just random Joe Schmo or, whoever that's willing to sit down and talk with me. And let's just talk about life and about life experience and about why you see things the way you see things. I'm not planning on going down like a political road or any like very divisive topics, because I'd like this to be more of a insight kind of video podcast. I've got some really cool ideas on teasers that I want to try out once I get things started. Thanks to Connor Nygaard for some of the ideas, and the boys over at Ready Motorsports that worked on the bus. We chatted a bit about the podcast. He had some good ideas, and I think I'm gonna give a little shout out to Life of a CEO podcast, because he has a couple of things that he does on his podcast that I hope I can integrate into mine. But the idea is that I'm not going to be looking for like high profile names or, celebrities or anything like that. I'm looking for your average, everyday, human that's out there just grinding away at all walks of life. I'm not looking for like just the rich people. I'm not looking for just the poor people. I'm looking for everybody, because I would love, for me personally, to be able to interact with people that I typically wouldn't interact with, to be able to understand life from their view, and to bring that to, all of you that are listening, that are willing to listen. Because I really think the world we live in right now is very, very divided. And I think a lot of that has to do with the idea of I'm right, you're wrong. There's no in between. I won't even entertain hearing your point of view. And that just that doesn't make for a good society, right? I think we need to have open dialogue, be able to disagree, be able to hear other points of view, and to discuss hard topics, right? Because there are hard topics. The reality is life is hard sometimes. The journey of life can be difficult for everybody, regardless of who you are, regardless of the color, regardless of your religion, regardless of if you're not religious. It doesn't matter. Life is flipping hard. And so let us sit down, have a discussion, talk about uh, the world, talk about things that shaped you as a human being, and let's find common ground and let's find things that will bring us together as a society and maybe lighten the burden a little bit that people feel like they have. And, let's put smiles on people's faces again. I mean, for the love, we live in a time when we have abundance. We have abundance. We have pretty much anything we want at our fingertips at all times, right? Um, I think back on my parents because I was raised by my grandparents and the things that they went through with World War II. And, um, like my generation has never had to deal with anything like that ever. So we've had a pretty coddled life. And I think that shows in the way that we act and the way that we feel entitled. And so a little bit about my backstory, just to share, give you a little insight into me, Dan Madsen, your host of the Red Bus podcast. I was born in 1978. I was raised by my grandparents, and I was raised LDS Mormon, and I'm still actively Mormon. Obviously, having religion in my life shaped my life, shaped a lot of decisions that I've made, shaped a lot of the views I have. And I think that's part of the reason why I personally want to do this podcast, because frankly, I enjoy talking to people that have different points of view from me and have lived much different lives than me. Yeah, I've got 4 kids. Life is wild with 4 kids. Having been raised pretty much a single child, because all of my other siblings were older by the time I was there, or half siblings, or whatever you want to call them. So I was raised pretty much a single child, and having 4 kids is wild for me. The noise, the craziness, the women in my house, man alive. They can test me for sure sometimes. But it's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life. I can't complain. I shouldn't complain. We are blessed. And so my goal to all of you, is to bring people on that are willing to talk, willing to share points of view that are different than mine. Maybe they're the same as mine. But to find common ground even when we might have much different lives. I really have a good feeling about the podcast. I feel like the topic is something that everybody I've shared with thinks would be awesome. So I've got ideas. I've got things flowing. We've sat down. We've worked on some questions. And I really think this thing could be awesome. I've just got to really focus in and get rolling on putting together some episodes. I've got 12 days before my first big race of the year. I don't usually do races, but I have been training for a 50K race. And so I probably won't get around to doing episode 1 until after that race is over. I've just got a lot of training to finish up and mentally prepare myself for the absolute beatdown that I'm going to get. So, without further ado, I welcome you all with open arms and a thankful heart for joining me on this journey, which is the RedBus podcast. I really hope that you all will bear with me as I learn the ropes of doing a podcast, that I learn the ropes of editing and audio, video, and just making the podcast a higher quality product. Like I said, today I'm videoing on my phone, holding it in my hand. I don't even have it on a tripod, so it's probably moving all over the place. I'm roasting. I don't have a fan on, but I promised that I would get the introduction video out. So here it is in its rawest form. I didn't sit down and write up anything. I've just been flowing off of the dome, off of the American dome. And I hope that you will subscribe, that we can get this thing out to the masses, and that we can start sharing our personal journeys with each other so that we can have more kind, open-heartedness towards each other, and that we can understand and feel love towards those that we may or may not disagree with. I feel like we are all on this planet for a journey. The journey is short. It may feel long, but it is short. And it is too short for us to be hating one another. I believe we should come together. We should find common ground, and that we should love and smile and get along with each other more often than not. So without any further ado, I thank you again for joining me for this introduction video. Subscribe, follow, share, and get ready for what I think is going to be quite an interesting podcast. So thank you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and keep that head up, keep that mind right, keep that smile on that face, because everybody loves a smile. And until next time, peace.